What up, my good people in the YouTube world and beyond? This is the Outlier B, and I'm right back up at you cats with another video. So how y'all doing today, man? What's new? What's going on? I ain't doing much, man. I'm just out here chilling, feeling this beautiful, beautiful weather. You can contrast today with yesterday, and you'll see a huge difference. Yesterday it was horrible, my people. The wind was blowing. I had the umbrella. It's hard to keep up. I was out of breath. All types of craziness. But what a difference a day make, y'all. What a difference a day makes. But we back, son. We right back up at y'all, man. Back to this consistent daily grind. Vacation time is over. And it's back to business, y'all. Back to business. It's Tuesday. I know this my day, the telecommute. But we going in, man, because we gangsters, son. We going in because we are gangsters. Man. People always say, when you say you a gangster, what is it that you mean? They don't understand what I'm talking about, man. I'm not talking about your traditional sense of a gangster. What I'm saying is I'm the triple OG when it come to this, man. When it come to work, I done put in 20 long, hard years, hard work, discovering things about the system that nobody knows. That's what makes me the OG at work. Then on these streets, never ran the streets, was never a gangster, but I've been in arenas with some real people, my people. Been in there in arenas with real people, had dealings with real people. Also, one of the biggest things I say that I get from the community is my hip hop. So I say my culture is that of hip hop, my people. And it gave me the way I look at the world, my style of dress, the way I speak, and ultimately my mind frame, my people. So to put Long Island on the map, me, Ace, Big Mont, started In the Loop Radio. And on In the Loop Radio, we put a whole bunch of people on from Long Island that is hip hop. So when it comes to these street things, a lot of these young cats y'all see coming up on Long Island, they came through us, man. Not to say that we started their careers, but we definitely gave them a platform to perform. Then on the streets, my brother done coached a Little League a few times. Brother done umpired a few games. My brother done set up the sound system for public debates for Republican candidates and also Democratic candidates. Went to community meetings, recorded them, posted them up, tutored, helped people with resumes. That's when I say I'm the OG. So when I talk about being a gangster, I'm not talking about hurting people or anything. I'm just saying this is the way that we want to show a responsible human being, you dig? Also speak about my battles that I've personally had. Battle with death, came back from. Battle with alcoholism, which we're gonna get into right now, my people. We're gonna get into it right now. So y'all know I struggle with diabetes and also pancreatitis. This has come directly from my alcoholism and drinking. So it's something, I always say, with alcohol, man, you never gonna stop being an alcoholic. You could be 20 years sober, but you still gonna have that taste for alcohol. And I had some real advice for some elder people that I used to speak to when I was a younger man. They would say, one drink isn't enough, but two is too many. And that's real talk, y'all. That's real talk when it comes to an alcoholic. So there's been times in my life where I don't drink. I think I got it under control. Then I start back drinking and it gets bad. But over my vacation time last week, I did do too much drinking. Too much drinking. I was drinking wine at different parts of the day. It's just not good. And with the pancreatitis, that messes up the pancreatitis, my people. It inflames your pancreas. So they cut out most of my pancreas. And now I'm feeling stomach pains again. Them bad stomach pains that stop me from eating. The stomach pains that make it hard for me to eat. Wow, I don't have an appetite and I want to throw up. But with time and I stopped the drinking, it will most definitely feel better. So I just gotta tell myself I gotta keep eating. Don't care how it may make you feel. You gotta keep doing it. And eventually it'll start feeling better. Second, we spoke about the diabetes with the sensors, the Dexcom, and also the Omnipod. My prescriptions ran out. This is one of the harsh parts about diabetes management. So I have one, which is the pump, which again, I tried to put on my body. Man, the damn thing fell off because it's so sticky out here in New York, and them little sticky pads do not stay on a person who sweats like me, son, who do a lot of walking. So I be sweating, and them things just come right off my body, son, right off my body. So yesterday, the whole day, I thought I was giving myself insulin, but nah, son, I was running high the whole damn day. And since I ran out of the Dexcom sensors, because those things have the same issue. They're 15 days, but a lot of times only the last 5 days on my sweaty skin, yo, they be falling off. So I used up more than what my insurance covers. So now that has me making an extra step in calling insurance, man. You know, but it is what it is. We got 2 people on the check-in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if this is something that you're into. What is this? This ain't nothing special, my people. Just a brother walking him way to work every day, speaking about my life and speaking about some of the things that I see. You dig, you dig, you dig. And thank you for that like. So now we're gonna get into the real main topic of this conversation. And it's a good one, y'all. And it's a very, very, very good one. And I think that my boy Dave Pickles, what up, Dave Pickles? He said, hi, where you coming in from, Dave? Where you coming in from, man? I think that this issue that we're gonna speak about is actually a real issue, man. And the issue that we have is common. And I think that we should look at it in a certain way. All right, so he said, what up? He said he from Britain. Shout out to my people in Britain. Shout out to my people in Britain. We get a few people that call in from Britain. That is a place in the world I've never been. I most definitely want to check it out, my man. Definitely want to check it out. What are some of the good things you guys do in Britain, man? How do y'all hang out there? Yeah, so we're going to get in deep. And the first thing I would like to say, and I want to acknowledge this fact: we should not trust anybody when it comes to information. What I mean is you have to do your own research. You really got to do your own research, my people. You most definitely got to do your own research. So what I mean is that people are going to take facts and they're going to twist them to fit the agenda or the motive that they have. And many of those motives come from predefined feelings that they already had, or first judgments. I look at psychology, I look at the philosophy of science, and a lot of literature states that people actually form an opinion on something and then they look for evidence to back up that opinion. So just looking at things like that, you got to know that a lot of research is going to be biased, and they're going to be looking to support their initial reaction that they had to the information based off of, you know, the worldview that they formerly had. Look at that raccoon. Look at that raccoon over there. Y'all saw it? Yeah, I love animals, but I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. Sometimes raccoons creep me out, yo. Sometimes raccoons creep me out, son. We got my boy Pickles on here. He said it's nice at Britain. I recommend trying our Sunday roast and fish and chips, a local area, London, It's very nice. It's old and posh and very populated. And the people there are nice. And he said, Sam, all right, that's what up. That's what up. He said, some of the food out there, the fish and chips. I heard about fish and chips out there in Britain. I heard that is definitely one of the best dishes that you can have. I went to a couple of Gordon Ramsay restaurants. I went to a restaurant that he have out there in Atlantic City, and it was a burger spot. So I had the fish and chips. Somebody else had a burger, and I definitely liked it, man. I definitely liked it. It was good food. I want to go to his steakhouse out here in New York. Definitely want to go to his steakhouse and see what that's hitting for you, dig? What's that hitting for you, you know? So, yeah, man. So here we go back with the evidence, right? You got to really, really, really do your own research on stuff outside of the internet, outside of people on YouTube. So you form a basis of knowledge that you searched out yourself and that you stress test and looked at all the options. So with this little bit of knowledge that you have in your head, you can now go back to YouTube videos and you can see, okay, this doesn't fit the evidence and that doesn't fit the evidence. So now you have a baseline of judging if this person who's posting information is telling the truth or where they're coming from. Thanks, my boy Dave Pickles. I definitely appreciate that, man. Thanks for the subscription. So yeah, now you listen to someone's YouTube video and you can see exactly where things are coming from. Now, I'm gonna touch up on something that's very, very, very important, especially about scientific communication. Now listen, man, no disrespect to science teachers, no disrespect to professional scientists. But I will say this, man. I've had a couple of great, great, great science teachers. And the great science teachers that I had are people who make science fun. And it seems like I won't say have a better understanding on the topic than someone else, but I tell you what, these teachers have a way of engaging you in whatever topic that you're trying to understand. I've even had a history teacher who explained history through the human lens on how people may think. And it opened up my way of just seeing history, and that teacher was inspirational. Just like you have some science teachers who can make actual science fun and show you how science actually helps you out in the real world. And I think that there's a disconnect in these type of people and the ultra technical people, which I do also feel is needed. However, when you have a kid and you sit him down in the classroom, him or her, you sit them down in the classroom and you're very technical, you're dull, you're just stating facts in a boring way. That's gonna catch some people. However, it's gonna turn some people off from science. And I try to perfect taking technical things and make it so that people can understand, right? And that's what we're gonna try to do here with this topic. So y'all know Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci, he's being questioned by Rand Paul. And Rand Paul and a lot of people on the internet are trying to make it seem as if Dr. Fauci is one of the most evil people in the world and that he has an agenda to kill people. And this is something that comes out to a lot of people in science, also a lot of rich people. And I'm gonna say it, I understand where the distrust comes from, especially where you can find people keeping out certain claims that have validity, even if it may have a small piece of, validity. I think the issue here is not what the issue that we're dealing with is not having or not schooling the public enough about information and science, yo. You feel me? My boy Pickle said, I have to go now. Bye, see you later. Keep going. Thanks, man. I'll check you later. So I think the issue not is the information, but how to distinguish good information from bad information. Because I'm going to tell you what creates a disconnect. If the people find out that you stopped them from hearing both sides of the argument, listen, it's a wrap for you, kid, and you lose all validity. So all the good work that Dr. Fauci and them did is gonna be made to look bad because to a certain extent, they did try to steer the people to believe in one theory. Now, I'm gonna be real here. All the physical evidence points to it being a virus that happened in nature and then it spread at the epicenter or the origin point, which could have been the market, right? So I'm gonna give you guys one. And China, okay? Let's be real with China. China hasn't been forthcoming with all of the information. So technically, there could be hidden documents which show that both versions of the virus was being worked on in the lab, and somehow both of those people, the two separate viruses infected two separate workers, and they both had connections to the Wuhan market, to the market over there, and it spread. That is a possibility. They don't have the actual animals that carry both of the different versions. They don't have that. They also don't have a lot of early information about the experiments that they were running in the labs out there in Wuhan. So if that information does show up, and it could possibly give us information that's not known. And with us knowing that that is an unknown, you can say that there is a small possibility that the lab leak is possible. And when you look at certain agencies who rule that these are possibilities, when you look at the likelihood, a lot of them say that it's low confidence in this idea. And it's basically based off of the fact that we don't have that information. So a lab leak would be impossible to rule out. But in science, when it comes to things like this, you necessarily don't have a 100% proof. There's no 100% proof. That is for math. You can only come up with probabilities. So when you put all the evidence together, what you'll notice is that there were two separate versions of the virus going around. One version and a second version. The first version looked as if it came from bats. Another one looked as if there was an intermediate species, and then it came into humans. So looking at the fact that there was two separate versions of it, and again, they cleansed the market before anybody could come in and look, they did find both versions at the stalls where animals were being kept. So that's evidence which, points toward it being from the market and it being from natural origins. Second, there are clusters when you look at the first cases. Now, some people say that there's unverified cases of those lab workers, and that may be a possibility. But when we look at the different versions, we look at, okay, where did these clusters first happen? So interestingly, a couple of the first cases weren't connected with people in the market. I think it was like 40% of the first 50 cases wasn't connected to the market. So when you look at Dr. Fauci's diaries, you'll see that he says that the evidence, or it appears that the market wasn't the origin, but the epicenter. I'm sorry, it wasn't the origin, but it was a super spreader event. And that was based on the fact that some of the first cases were reported by people who didn't have any connection to the market. But some of the cases did show that it was connected to the market. And as more data and better analysis techniques became developed, what we started to see is that way more clusters started happening with people who was in the market and people that lived in their neighborhood. So even if they didn't go to the market, they live very, very, very close to the market. Now, if we was to look at the 3 people who they say got sick from the lab, They didn't live close to the market, right? Their neighborhoods, they didn't have a lot of COVID cases. Now, this goes back to the sharing of information. That's based off of the incomplete data that we have right now, because again, China isn't being transparent with a lot of the information. So, is that ruled out? Based on the evidence, we don't have evidence for them getting sick. So based on that, it looks like it came from the market. But there's still a possibility that that information could be discovered and it closes some gaps that we don't have. And in those cases, that case will look more likely, you know? So just looking at the data, you can kind of, you know, look at probabilities. And again, it's a stronger possibility that it was natural and it went into the market through animals being sold at the market. Can you rule out lab leak? No, you can't. Is censoring, opposing views wrong? Yes. But to try to make someone seem like a criminal and try to put their careers through the ringer based off of your political alliance, based on the fact that you formed an opinion prior to the evidence being released, I believe that that's wrong, man. And I believe that YouTubers and anybody presenting this information need to go back and do the research. But that's all I got, my people. I will talk to you cats later. Love y'all. Peace out, man.